Hey guys, what's going on? Arturo Spraycasso here. So I know I posted up this painting earlier and I was gonna continue painting on it, but I know I had a lot of people asking me questions if I had done a tutorial on it, and the answer is no, I really hadn't recorded much of it. So I'm gonna give it a try and record it with my phone. Except I've rigged my phone so that you guys can see what you would normally see in my YouTube videos. So if it's sideways on Facebook, I'm sorry guys, I'll try and correct that later. Alright, so this is the painting I was working on. As you can tell, I started working with the background layers, created some of the plant life in the back, added some highlights, and I'm still going to add a few more highlights, so you haven't really missed a whole lot. Let's get started. Alright, so I am going to work on some of the plant life back here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm using a paint palette. So I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. I'm using my own brand of spray paints, the Spraycasso spray paints, to do this. This is yellow. I'm going to spray some white. And of course my handy dandy foam. I use this foam for everything. It's really great for creating plant life highlights and even some of this light reflecting off the trees. So I'll show you how we do that. Mix a little bit of yellow with some of that white. Alright. Oh, look at that. That looks pretty good, huh? That's the pattern it's going to make. Alright. So, sorry guys, I think I'm a little sick. So if you hear me coughing quite throughout the video, that's the reason why. I'm going to create some plant life here using only highlights. This is made to just give us the effect that there's plants in the background, kind of fading out. So I'm just going to add a few more here. Maybe a little bit here. Alright. Some right here. Alright, look at that. Really like the way this is coming out. I'm going to add some plants right here on the bottom. Now I'm going to come through and I'm going to add some more plant life with our lime green. But that'll be later. Alright. Just going to add a little bit of shine to our tree. It's going to go up and down. This is one of the newer techniques that I've been doing on some of my paintings. And I use the foam brush, or the sea sponge, not the foam brush, to do this. Okay, now you can also do this on the water as well. And this will give you the same the effect that the lights and the colors that we're using up here above are reflecting on the water. Alright, I wasn't really going to add water, but it just kind of happened that way, and I figured, yeah, why not? Alright, so, you know what? I want to work on this tree. I went to go see a movie earlier, so I kind of let the layers dry on me. So, you got to be careful when you do that. You don't want to wait too long. This is sky blue, by the way. And this is what I'm going to be using to create the effect of highlights on some of these trees. Especially the trees that are closer to us. I want that baby blue color to really stand out. So I might even mix a little bit of white into this. Let's do that. Alright. I'm going to go up and down a few times. Look at that. That'll give us a pretty good looking highlights. Alright. Now, the beauty about making these live videos is that you guys get to see all the steps that I go through. It used to be, when I first started doing this in YouTube, the videos could only be like 10 minutes long, so there was a lot of cutting, you know, editing out and stuff. But not anymore. and you guys can ask me questions. So I'll take a little break here in a bit to see what everybody's saying or doing. I'm not currently looking at the comments. Okay, so I want this tree to have some very fine detail. It's really close to us, so I want the detail to really stand out, especially for the viewer that's standing right here. It's the details like this that will draw the viewer in. It'll make the viewer wonder, hey, what's behind those bushes over there? What's, you know, it's just very lifelike. All right, let's take a look. Let's see who's on. Oh, wow, I have quite a... Wow, hey. Hi, guys. Bobby, Thomas, Aaron, Daniel, Mario. Hey, Mario, Chris, Mikey. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for watching. As I was saying earlier, I took off and I went to go see a movie. It was called, Assassin's Creed. It was okay. It was okay. I don't know. Have you guys played the game before? I'm just going to add a little more highlights on this tree over here using the same color of highlights that I used over here. So it's sky blue with a little bit of white. Okay. And then, let's see. I really want to add maybe another tree. Maybe right about here. Maybe kind of coming across this one. You know what? I'm going to add a thicker tree right over here just to kind of bring some balance to the painting. Alright, we're going to use our black and our handy dandy Spraycasso funnel. Guys, again, not because it's my brand of spray paint, but I'll never go back to another brand. I definitely love the way these paints mix. If you guys haven't tried them, I highly recommend them. Alright, I'm going to use some black. Now, this is a bigger foam board than I usually use. The smaller the painting, the shorter the time it takes me to paint them. So, you know, for YouTube and for some of the videos that I do here on Facebook, the smaller the better. 11 by 14. This is 20 by 36 or 24 by 36. So it takes a little bit longer for me to paint them and do some of the layers. Alright, we're just adding a silhouette of a tree. Now I want to make this realistic, so we're going to have some branches coming out. Look at that. Okay. Pretty cool looking tree, huh? Alright. I like it. I don't know if I want to do a whole lot more to it. What I will do is I'm going to add a little bit of black. I'm going to create a bit of terrain. I'm going to use our handy dandy Spraycasso tool here. Tap into some black. Now take a look at this. Creating terrain. It truly is that easy. Now then, I still want to have some sort of a, I don't want to say an obstacle, because you don't want to place a barrier between you and the viewer. You want the viewer to come into the painting. That's what makes people, you know, sit in front of a painting and kind of, it lets their imagination wander in. So you don't want to place an obstacle. You want to place perhaps just maybe a small branch that's twisted quite a little bit, just to make the viewer feel like, oh, you know, I could just jump that and get into the painting. Not quite an obstacle, but kinda. So I'm thinking I'd like to maybe create, I don't know, maybe a broken branch here that's really close to us, yet it kind of overlaps some of these layers. Okay, we're gonna use a little bit of that baby blue or sky blue. And I'm just going to add a little bit of mist here. Not a whole lot. Oh, I didn't shake, I didn't pre-shake before rattling. Remember, that's a very vital spot. A rule that you have to always go by. Make sure you shake it and pre-spray it before painting. Look at the difference. I don't know if you can tell. You can't really see it. But now that I'm going to come through, look at that. You can definitely see the blue. So, it's important, guys. Let me throw some of these over here. Just going to add a little bit more blue here. Now, as we get closer to this area, I'm going to start adding a little bit of black. I want this to get a little bit darker. And I'm going to start using some brighter colors. Some pinks, maybe some purples. I'm just going to add a little bit of black. And I'm going to make sure that I define the outline of this terrain that is closer to us. Now, I've been asked this a lot. What kind of brush is this? Well, this is a prototype brush. Having these manufactured here pretty soon. And they have a rubber tip. And these are going to be great for spray painting. And I know I've used them in a couple other videos and people really like them, and I gotta tell you, I do too. The effects that you can create with them. Alright, so I'm just gonna define the terrain here. And the beauty about these brushes that have this rubber tip, they're easy to clean. I really recommend you don't do this in front of your painting, in case little spray paint chips land on it, but I want you guys to see how easy it is. Now this is kind of crusted on there, but you can scratch that off. Alright, so far I like where this is going. I still want to place a bit of an obstacle here, and I think I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to use, again, and I do have a bigger Spraycasso funnel around here somewhere. I'm not sure where it's at, so I'll just spray paint a little bit more into this one. I think I want this branch, or this tree. Let's add a little bit, yeah, let's add a little bit of sky blue. We can always go over it later on. But for now, I think I want to place that tree, yeah, maybe right about here, and then, yeah, let's do that. Okay, so right now I'm just making the outline. Yeah, I think I like it. Just gonna add a little more black. Yeah, something like that. See what I mean? It's not quite an obstacle. It's not going to prevent the viewer from getting into the painting, but it's going to encourage him to bypass it. Right, I'm just going to add a little more black here. Now this process right here takes a little bit because we have to use the funnel. If I was to use my spray paint directly on this, it would kind of splatter all over the place. So I'm just going to use some of this paint that I have here on the bottom. And I'm going to manipulate that into filling in some of these areas up here. Okay. And I'm going to start defining how thick this trunk is. And all I'm doing is I'm just using some of the paint that I have here and spreading it over. Look at that. Pretty easy to do. Now this is a tricky, oh, I have a bunch of paint on my hands. This is a tricky spot right here because anytime you start overlapping layers, you're gonna see that the paint, once it starts to get wet again, it'll start to shrivel a little bit. So you don't want to wait too long. As long as you're still within a few hours of the painting, you can still go over it. If you wait any more than that, like a day or so, then you're really gonna see the painting starting to shrivel a little bit. So I wouldn't recommend you wait a whole lot of time. In this case, I think I started this painting about 2 hours ago, maybe. So we still got plenty of time. All right. I like how this is coming out. What do you guys think? Alrighty. Just add a little bit more black. I want to add some character to this tree. All right. We might add a few more little branches that kind of overlap this area. I was thinking about this earlier. I'm thinking about putting a branch that kind of comes out of the screen to this area. Just makes you wonder how far this tree is. That's the beauty about art. It's your imagination. It's your world, but you can bring people into it. It's one of the things why I love doing landscapes a lot. They're just very intriguing to me. Okay, we're just going to add a little bit. Perhaps you can see a little bit of that tree here. All right. Now, I like where this is coming. You already added a couple of silhouette layers, and this is just adding more character to the painting. I still have to go through and add some highlights to these trees that we just added. I might even go through and add a little bit of a purple mist here on the bottom, a little bit of pinks, so that you have a full spectrum of colors, maybe transcending throughout this area as well as this area. I also want to add some plant life, something that just brings it in, or brings it home, as I like to say. So I'm going to use some sea sponge, and I'm just kind of jumping around. I'm not dedicating my entire time on trees. That's something that I've noticed a lot of people do, is once they get concentrated on a certain thing, like I have to place all the trees, then I have to do all the terrain. You can jump around a little bit. And as you do that, you'll start to see, you know what would look good? Maybe some plants right here. Or maybe another tree coming across. So don't always concentrate on, I'm just going to concentrate on solid trees right now. Or solid plants. Jump around. Test that out. I encourage you to definitely get out of that comfort zone. Just going to add a little bit of black. Handy dandy sea sponge. Alright, so I'm going to sit down for this. Chair here, and I think I want to make sure that I see some of these tree leaves that are closer to us, overlapping some of the branches that we added. All right. Now it's okay if it's just solid black. This is a silhouette layer. We're going to go over it in a minute, and we're going to add some colors, some highlights. Look at that. We can just add a few of them right here. Just going to create some plant life. If you want to add some grass strands, sea sponge is the best for it. Alright. Now what do I always do? I love to make the plant life go into the water, so I just kind of do this throughout some random areas on the shore, and then we'll fill it in. And this is a neat little effect that I use to create the illusion of shadow on the water, reflections as well. I know right now they kind of stand out is the opposite of a negative space, but it's still kind of the same thing. Your eye wants to focus on the dark areas since we don't have any white showing, which is why I don't really recommend people scratch highlights because your eye tends to go to those areas, those spots. But we'll balance this out with a little bit of white. Let me spray a little bit more. Add a little bit of black. I'm going to create some plant life right here. Just that. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. And let's blend that in with all these other layers. I'm going to add maybe a little bit of that plant life surrounded this tree. Perhaps this is some flowers. Now I'm just using the same shape, or the shape that came with the sea sponge. Now every time it'll be unique. All right, so I'm just gonna add a few more. This could be little flowers later on. But look, you can also use it to create grass strands. Very versatile. All right. I still got to complete this area. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. That's one of the things that people always ask me if I know what I want to do or spray paint. I always say the same thing. I have an idea. It doesn't always come out that way. I basically let the painting paint itself. As I'm going with the flow, it starts to take me in different directions. Alright. Tap, 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 tap. Maybe we need a little something here. Just gonna add a few more tree leaves that are closer to us. And because they're closer to us, they kind of block the light a little bit more. So they tend to look darker. Yeah, so we'll have something like this. Now don't be afraid. I know I've gotten a lot of wonderful emails, people saying, you know, you make it look so easy. Well, it's easy. It's easy. Get it in your mindset that everything that can happen, you can correct it. I know, I could almost hear a universal bullcrap, but no, man, I mean it. You can always go back, add some more layers, perhaps add some highlights and hide some of the stuff that you feel you could have done a little bit better or that you need to correct. So once you go into a painting without that fear that you can possibly mess up, you'll see that you'll have the ability to jump into more complicated techniques. You'll have the ability to say, well, even if I can't correct it, you know, I can always paint another one. And that'll help take away some of that fear that people have. I don't want to try that because I might mess it up. It's coming along good, but I might mess it up. I encourage you to change that mentality. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of black right here. I'm going to tap into that black with my sea sponge. I'm just going to come over here and remove some of those. I want to thank you guys while I have everyone here, for those of you who have supported me throughout this whole process. We've come a long ways. The Spraycasso brand is spray paints are definitely was above and beyond what I thought was going to happen, guys. And I really want to thank every single one of you guys for the opportunity of having bought the spray paints and giving them a try. I still get a lot of emails, and it's kind of mind-blowing when you see your own brand out there and people are liking it and people really want to continue and help it grow. It's mind-blowing. I want to thank you guys for that. All right. A little bit more black. So this silhouette layer may darken up the painting a little bit, but it is bringing it home quite wonderfully. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way. I don't know. Can you guys see it there? Let me move some of these cans over here. Alright, so it is bringing it home very, very nicely. So this is what you want. You want to have a little bit of, not always necessarily like a path or a pathway or even a little stream, but you want to be able to bring the viewer into wanting to explore your painting. And you do that by adding depth, by adding details, and you have to kind of add realistic details. You know, if the sun is hitting this area, then you want to make sure it hits the other area as well. What I like to do is I use my hand and I imagine the sun rays hitting these certain branches and these areas, the silhouettes. I recommend you try and do the same thing. The more realistic you can make it, the more people are going to want to explore your painting. Add a little more. I know I've also gotten a lot of emails. Sorry guys, I haven't been able to paint a whole lot lately. I've been really, really busy. Not only trying to get these little guys going, but you know, the manufacturing of spray paints. And there's just a whole lot going on right now. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to make tutorials. I thought tonight would be a good opportunity to catch up with you guys. Using the sea sponge here just to create. You guys see that? Yeah. Let me move this out of the way. Alright. I think that gives us a little bit more viewing. Sea sponge. Great grass strands. Great for using the fur technique if you create animals. Now, I can paint people's faces. I can. I know I haven't done it a whole lot of times, but I can. This is what I use to create hair, facial hair, or just regular hair on top of their head. It's the same technique as I use here with the grass strands. Okay, tap, tap, tap. Now remember that little... We realized that we can create these little plant lives in the background. I think I'm going to add some of those here. I'm a little bigger. This could be... See, this looks a little dark, but rather than to say that I messed up, I'm just going to turn it into one of nature's happy mistakes. Nah, I'm just messing with you guys. I'm just going to say that it is one of nature's miracles, huh? I'm just going to add these right there. Oh. Yeah, look at that. My fingers are constantly painted because I try to use the littlest piece of sponge that I can possibly use so that I don't have to go through an entire big sponge. So I stick to these. I buy these. They come in a package of about 4 or 5. And I just tear little pieces off. So they last a long time. So I know people say they're expensive. Well, yeah, you don't want to use the entire sponge and tap, tap, tap. Small pieces, guys. Small pieces. The same trick applies to spray paint. This is, out of all the paintings that I've done since I got my brand out, this is the second can of spray paint that I've used. So try to limit your layers. Don't use a whole lot. Clear coat, it's a different story. I think I've gone through 3 of those already. But that's because we constantly have to go back and forth and make some of these layers a little more vibrant. Okay, I'm going to use a funnel and a little bit of sky blue. Just going to let that simmer a little bit. I'm going to add some of that layer here on the edge of this tree. Alright. You want to stick to just the edge. Okay. Once you have a solid line, you can always go back. Now notice how this tool is dirty. I'm not gonna do it on top of the painting, but basically I'm just gonna clean it off the painting. And okay, now that it's nice and clean, I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna tap into it. And that's going to give us a very marbleized color. It's going to start blending with the colors below. So it's not going to be like a complete bright blue. It's going to blend in with some of the black. You want that to happen. All right. Tap, 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 tap. All right. Like the way this is coming out. Love the way these colors blend. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for this to dry a little bit before coming through and adding some more highlights. I still think that this tree personally still needs a little bit more lighter blue, kind of like what we did on this side. And then we're gonna have a little bit of this white burst, and that we're just gonna add to some of these areas. Now notice what I'm doing. I'm just adding some of the color onto the painting. I'm not like directly adding the highlights. I'm just fanning it, letting some of that white kind of vanish into the background. You can do this also by using light rays. So you would use a straight edge, and then you could do that. Personally, I want the more ambient effect, and I think this covers it a little bit better. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. I'm also gonna add just a little bit on these areas right here. All right, give me a second, crew. Oh, sorry about that, guys. One of my dogs got loose and he was running around the studio. Alright, so I'm going to use a little bit of pink. Now, we have been playing around with some fluorescents. We're trying to make a really fluorescent-like pink that can work with our colors. This is still not available on our website, but it will be pretty soon. I'm still testing it. I'm going to use a little bit of this sea sponge. I'm going to spray a little bit of that fluorescent pink. Tap, 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 tap. Now, the light blue and the pink is really going to stand out. That's kind of the idea of it. You gotta be careful. You don't want to overdo it either. Just a little bit of pink. You don't want the eye. See how your eye goes automatically to that because it's different? You don't want to overdo it. I'm just gonna add a little bit here on the bottom. Make it look like flowers. Alright, maybe perhaps we can add some over here on this end. And I've been dying to try our lime green on this painting. This is probably one of my favorite colors. So I'm just gonna spray. Oh, I didn't pre-spray. I have a trash can that I pre-spray. Notice the difference. That's without pre-spraying. That's with pre-spraying. So, guys, always shake your cans and pre-spray them off you get better results that way. Tap into some green. We're just gonna add maybe just a little bit of color here. Oh, I like that. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna add some of those colors over here. Yep, I think that's the better idea. I'm gonna use some of these colors back here. Right about here. Alright, I like that. Notice how these little greens here, the lime green, it's not enough to really stand out as a really dark color, but it does bring a lot of balance, a lot of nice little detail. Perhaps this can be moss on the rocks. I'm just going to add a little bit of that green on the water as well. I like it. All right. Now, another mistake that I've seen a lot of people do when experimenting with colors is they really get into a color. Let's say I got into lime green, and then I start using lime green on everything, all the highlights, all the all the mid-tones. You want to take colors a little bit easy and kind of experiment with them on a minute scale and then start working your way up. I think I want to add some green up here. Yep, I like it. All right, I'm gonna add a little more green down here. I also want some of that green here on some of these plants down here. Now notice how I'm jumping around, guys. I find the areas that I feel need balancing, and I just jump from area to area. All right, we're gonna add a little more green here. Perhaps we can add some right here. And notice how that green really stands out on the blue background. See that? So you're able to create some plants here, overlapping some of these areas, and it'll give you very natural looking highlights. So see, you want some of those to overlap some of the existing layers. Okay, I'm going to add some more here. Yep. Right about here. Slowly, slowly. Just going to blend some of these colors here. I'm also going to add some of this lime green to the background. Perhaps we can add a little tree over here. Maybe one right here. Okay, what do you guys think? Does it help with the perception of depth? I think so. Right. I'm going to add a little bit of green right here. And then perhaps maybe a little bit of green down here. Now what I think will look nice around this area is maybe some orange and yellow. In case you guys didn't know, orange and yellow make a really neat combination. And I'll show you real quick. It's very useful for creating highlights. A little bit of yellow. And some orange. Let me cover this whole up. Alright. There, pre-spray. Yeah, just like that. I'm going to use the portion of the sea sponge. See, one side is pink, one side is green, and now this side is going to have yellow and orange. Okay, just going to add a little bit here. Let me show you what it looks like here on the darker area. So it'll give you a nice like little transitional color between yellow and orange. It's great for making little flowers, little highlights, light reflections. I'm just gonna add a little bit of a reflection on this rock. See that? You can even come in here and add a little bit of highlights. See? Pretty neat, huh? And you get to learn these little tips and tricks as we go along. You'll see that you're able to use a combination of colors to create other colors or certain types of highlights. In this case, the yellow and orange make like a very mystical-like flower. Nice little effect on there. Now, remember this area, how it's really dark? What I like to do in areas like that, where the water meets the plant life, is I like to add a little bit of white. And I use my handy dandy Spraycasso tool. Just going to spray a little bit of white off on the side. Tap into it. You'll hear that tool squeaking. See that? You want that. That's telling you that the colors are blending. You're not scratching. You're able to create some good looking highlights. Let me add that a little bit more here. All right. What is this? Yellow. Clear coat. So I'm going to add some clear coat here. Oh, I'm running out. I'm just going to add some clear coat on the water. I know it seems like a lot. It really isn't. It's really sputtering because it's out of pressure. So when cans are out of pressure, they'll start to release more pressure than paint. No, I've had some people call me and say, "Hey, man, your paints aren't supposed to sputter." I was like, "Well, they're not supposed to get clogged up, which causes them to sputter." But unfortunately, once you start running low, you're gonna have a little bit of that sputtering going on. That's pretty normal. All right. Now I'm gonna add. The more I look at this, I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. This is gonna be our light blue, and some white. Once I can find my white, let's see. Oh, it's right over here. Okay, I'm gonna add a little more highlights to our trees. So just gonna do a little combination of that white and light blue. It's very important you guys learn how to make different colors using the colors that we have. So if you need a lighter blue and you can't get it in your favorite brand, or you need to work on it now, it's important you learn how to manipulate the colors. so that you're able to create the highlights or the desired effect that you're looking for. So I'm just going to go up and down here a few times, blend these colors. And I told you, man, these paints are really good for that. They blend really, really well. Look at that. And that'll give us the effect that there is, in fact, a light source hitting our tree, giving us these fine details of the tree bark. Now, if you want to get more technical, I haven't made a whole lot of these yet, but this is also in the works with this. So they're gonna come in a kit, or that's the idea. Finer point spray paint brushes, so that you're able to mix your paints and work in the fine details. Now, yeah, you can use brushes for this, but the brush won't last very long. The bristles tend to get stuck together, and you can only use clear coat so many times before the brush really starts to see it. You'll start seeing straggling branches or the little bristles that stick out. You can only do it so many times. These are made out of rubber, so you'll be able to keep going with these for a very long time. You're able to do some very fine detail work. Look at that. It's all coming, guys. It's in the works. I know it takes a little while, but that's like anything. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Alright, so well, I want to make sure that I give you guys the best products possible. I'd hate to put my name on something and then have it break within the first time you guys try it. Or, you know, the spray paints took me almost 10 years. And that's trying different manufacturers, different formulas, different everything, until we finally were able to come up with a formula that works this well. So see, this little tool is really nifty to create little fine details. Alright, well, I'm going to continue working on this. I know I've probably taken your time. I see that some people have already left. So with that being said, I'm going to continue working on this, guys. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for watching me. And until next time, crew, I'll take pictures of this as we progress, and I'll show you what the finished product looks like. Alright, crew, as always, keep those cans shaking, huh? Later, crew.